Well, hello to everyone and welcome. We are lucky enough to have the champ, the world heavyweight champion, Ryan Bader, defending, I guess kind of defending, but not really defending. Who knows what you're defending here?
Yeah.
You've got a huge fight against a huge man coming up in Saudi Arabia. How you feeling, my man?
Yeah, I feel great. It's fight's kind of weird, because it's not really for the Bellator belt or the PFL belt, but they have their own belt. They're going to give the winner a belt, all that kind of stuff. It's a 3-round fight. The card is stacked and out in Saudi, so a lot of different things going on. But at the end of the day, go in there, do your thing.
I mean, like,
how do you feel about it being a 3-round fight? Because it was one of the things when they brought all these fights together. I said, "Oh my god, man, this is going to take some time with all these fights." And they go, "Oh no, they're going to be 3 rounds." I was like, "They're 3-round title fights?"
Yeah, because it's not really a title fight though.
Yeah,
that's the deal.
Exactly.
It's like their own little super fight title. I like it. I'm sure Josh kind of feels the same way. Preparing for a 5-round fight's a lot different than a 3-round fight. I think a 5-5 or a 5-round fight would benefit me even more. But at the end of the day, I think I can get it done. And I've been training and fighting these 5-round fights for
forever.
The last 7, 8, 9 years. So it's nice to go into a camp being like, wait, 3 rounds? And after doing that for so long, you're like, do I even have to train for this? So it's kind of welcomed. It's a big fight. Kind of bragging rights on the line, and you walk away, and I go out there and get that win. Everybody knows you're a PFL champion, Bellator champ.
But this is you just talked about training. I mean, he is what, 6'8"? Yeah, and so
he's a good 6'8" too. He ain't lying about any of those inches.
No. I mean, not like John and I. We lie about our inches all the time. I mean,
oh yeah, that's because I keep on losing them, man. I'm getting older.
Sure, that's not the only inches you'd be lying about, brother.
Oh, dude, let's not talk about that. I've seen you naked, dude. Yes. We are not even going to go there.
Bader, I've been telling him, bro, I'm a grower, man. Don't judge a book by its cover. I'm a grower.
That is a true thing.
Yeah, it's a true thing, but a mushroom cap can only get so large. Let's be honest.
I mean, look, we're talking about training, but look, it comes down to training. How do you find somebody of that size to try to match the athleticism that Henan has?
Yeah, so every time I kind of fight a taller guy like a Che Congo, that kind of stuff, I bring in this guy, call him Mountain from Brazil. He's on the Ultimate Fighter. He's a great coach, black belt, has good striking, and really good person and motivating and all that. And so brought him again, and he happened to be in Henan's camp 2 fights ago also. So Mountain called him up and said, hey, Ryan and I go way back. It's business, and I'm going to be there for him, and it was fine on that aspect. But he did, Henan brought him in for his semifinals fight in PFL. So I have it. He's 6'6", and then I have we found a jiu-jitsu guy that's 6'9", and have him come in a couple of days a week just to feel that his body, and we'll start on the cage. We'll start on your feet, even though, he's not a striker or anything, but just to, get past those gangly arms and control and all that kind of stuff. It's different with a big body like that. And so, yeah, just try to get as many big guys and tall guys as I can, because if you walk in there and you've been sparring 6'2" dudes the whole time, it's a totally different ball game, striking department. So I felt like I've seen enough as far as that length and all that. And, at the end of the day, I want to go in there and kind of dictate what I'm going to do.
How do you take the differences between someone like a Czech Congo and a Linton Vassell, who are very big men as well? Both of them, I think, have good striking, maybe not the level of Henan's, but they're both better wrestlers and both probably better on the ground than him. So in terms of flips, like how do you schedule your camp, and around that, is there any comparison between them?
Yeah, for this one, even Congo, I don't think Congo gets enough credit, how scrappy he is on getting back to his feet and all that, and coming up off the ground. Nip Vassell, he's a stud on the ground. He scrambles, he's strong down there. He's got some different stuff, and and I feel like Henan is well below that in his ground game. He likes to kind of hold and try to stall it out so the ref will stand it up. And if you watch some of his fights, he gets taken down. He does not get back up, and he gives up those takedowns. Maybe it's just hard for that big body to get up, and then if you look on, also like who is taking him down. He's not going out there and getting taken down by a D1 wrestler that's 20-5. He's getting taken down by guys that are 14-15. And giving that up and not being able to get back up. And so obviously that's a weakness that we look to exploit. He's long, he's lengthy, he's obviously big and athletic. And I feel like my strengths are his definite weaknesses.
When you look at the way both of you though are successful on the feet, he likes to go forward. You like to go forward. And someone's got to give in that, or you're going to change levels and put this fight into an area that you obviously, in everyone's mind, you have an advantage in that area. One of the things that I loved about the way when you take someone to the ground, you don't get enough credit for how good you are with your ground and pound and your ability to keep people there. You lace the legs very well. You keep people's feet up off of the ground. A lot of people don't notice it. You like to use the arm lace and open up all the time, but you'll give it up. Where was it that you got to the point where you felt comfortable just shifting back and forth on the ground the way you do? Because your ground and pound is sensational.
Yeah, thank you. And I noticed that you always notice those little things, and a lot of it comes from wrestling. I had a whole system, and I knew, like, sometimes I would, if they say, hey, you want bottom or top or neutral, I would take top a lot of times because I had a system that I could keep them down, and I had 4 to 5 different things that I can transition depending on what they did, and I used that a ton, throughout my whole MMA career. I remember with Neil Guerra, I did a straight up wrestling move one time. He's posted up. I had a little Iowa ride. I did the whole, forehead in the shoulder and kind of dragged his hips down, and it works. And so guys that haven't wrestled and, haven't been in that, even that little ankle lockdown called the Iowa ride, they don't know how to get out of it. And what they do is they expend energy trying to get up, and I'm able to get really good shots. That's how I finished Linton Vassell. They think they can get out, but they're stuck there, and I can transition and get them a little Navy ride back on the ground. But the only guy was Phil Davis that turned into me, and you did the right things and wrestled back. But I just feel like I'm so comfortable right there. I've been there my whole life, and I use these little more tricks with MMA because you can punch there, you can, zap their energy, I let them come up sometimes just to kind of exert some energy and get them back down. You're starting over again. You can hear them a lot of times. They'll be like, "Fuck," they know they have to start over again. And so with a guy, like Kanon with the real lengthy and all that kind of stuff, I feel that, it's tailor made for me. Put him on that fence, start tripping, doing that kind of stuff, get him on the ground. I feel like he's never going to get up, and I can finish it, pretty easily on the first takedown.
When you take a look at your career, both in the light heavyweight and now in the heavyweight, you're undefeated as a heavyweight. What is it that you notice is a difference for you in the heavyweight matches compared to the light heavyweight?
I just feel I feel like everything's a little slower, and for me, I felt like I just needed that little bit, and I'm faster. I'm the one with better cardio, but some of these light heavyweights, especially I'm 40 now, and
it happens to all of us.
I know, I'm not saying I feel like I'm the best I've ever been, but some of these light heavyweights, I do better with the ones that are a little slower. You get a real dynamic guy that's always going. It's a little tricky. So we're going up to heavyweight. Obviously, they have power, more power. They're heavier. They're potentially harder to take down. Maybe not. But I feel like that little bit of being not as quick in my opponents is huge for me because I can be the quick one, and I can see things as they're coming, and either get out of the way, go get a takedown, counter, or whatever.
When I look at this fight, though, I think the best comparison, to be honest, would be like a Matt Mitrione, because Matt's what, 6'5", somewhere around there, real fast with the hands, long, quick with the jab, very similar to Hennen. But when I look at that, though, you still had to utilize your wrestling so much against Matt. You're going to utilize, I would imagine, your wrestling a lot in this fight. But you just mentioned it. You're 40 years old. Sorry, man, but wrestling at 40 is not as it was at 32.
Yeah.
How difficult was it to get into it and stay also healthy throughout your camp, within the wrestling department?
Yeah, I've actually had a really good camp, and knock on wood here, I've been, have a few training sessions left, but I've been feeling great. There was a time, last like 2 or 3 fights where I was doing a lot of camps in a row, and my shoulders, just for grinding, my shoulders are pretty much like not surgery, worthy, but they're kind of torn everywhere. And, I had to kind of like ease, in on those days and not do as much wrestling and cage wrestling and all that kind of stuff. But they healed up now. And I mean, this camp, literally, we spent the whole time on the wall, on the ground, and I feel like I've made huge leaps just by going with these big guys and being there literally every day. We have some sort of wrestling, wall wrestling, all that kind of stuff going on. And I feel great, and I, as we all know, that's one of the harder things to do. And so, my cardio's right at the top, just doing that every day. Striking wise, he's pretty basic, but he's real long. He throws a 1-2. Most of his stuff is 1-2, 2, so for me, I did kind of think of it as a Matt Mitrione fight, a big guy with fast hands. For me, it's keeping him guessing, level changes, keeping him on his toes, not knowing what's going to happen. He'll come under with, both hooks kind of under like that, which, for me is great because I mixed up my feints, my takedowns, and my punches really well. So Mountain the other day, he's like, man, I won't be surprised if you knock this dude out, just with your feints and all that going on right now. And so, I think all that is just going to be keeping him guessing. If I do get him on the ground, it's going to be a real long night for him, and you can tell after he gives up that first takedown, you can see it in his eyes. He's kind of like a little defeated, and every time it happens again, a little more. His cardio is zapped. So
yeah, I say it all the time. If you get takedowns early and often, if you're a good wrestler and you're able to hold it down, you just start depleting their energy level like in a video game, and you can just see their confidence just coming out of their ears. They're done, man. They start getting spent. But then to go back on what you were talking about from the light heavyweights to the heavyweights, I really like the direction of where you took your career because of course, I thought you had a successful career at 205, but I really believe at heavyweight, because there is a lack of top-level wrestlers. Look at Kane, look at DC, look at guys that can wrestle in the heavyweight division. They generally have a better career at the heavyweight division. Your speed on the feet, your ability, your blast double is probably one of the best in the game. And just your ability to get in deep on there and finish those takedowns, making them work from their back. Most heavyweights are like a turtle from the back. And John and I have been saying it for the longest time. Heavyweight division for you with the new hybrid of heavyweights is where you belong. How much more comfortable do you feel here? And is it only because of your age, or do you feel comfortable here? Have you wanted to come here for a longer period of time?
I just never, it was an unknown for me. I'm like, all right, are these dudes way stronger than me? Can I kind of throw them around like I was some of these guys 205? It's just an unknown. And Aaron Simpson actually, fellow UFC guy and coach at the time, he was like, you need to go up to heavyweight. He's been telling me for a long time, but it was always an unknown. Wasn't unsure. So that Grand Prix kind of like, all right, opened up that, deal where I can, kind of get in that game. And I realized, when I fought Mitrione that, I'm good here. It's even better. Like I was saying, they're less quick. I can see things better, and to have a high level wrestler in there, on top of you, the guys are trying to get, these heavyweights are trying to get up, all that kind of stuff. That's when their energy goes really, really down. 205, you get some guys that they can wrestle all day, like a Phil Davis, all that kind of stuff. But these guys, they're just not used to it, and I think bringing that to this game definitely, is a positive.
When you take a look at your career, you've had a fantastic. You're coming up on 40 professional fights. It's not that far away, okay? This will be make it. There's one more. But at the
No,
age,
I actually have a couple that were.
well, you have the exhibition fight, so you're actually over it when you think about it from the Ultimate Fighter. But when you take a look at your career, you have got to be incredibly pleased with everything that you've done and the way that you have, Josh and I are always talking about, man, look, fighting is great, titles are great, make the money. That's what this is about. And you have done a phenomenal job with that. But at the age of 40, are you still in that position where you're enjoying it?
Yeah. When I look at it like, all right, how many years do I have left and all that kind of stuff, everybody wants to, it doesn't matter what job you're in. Everybody's always looking like, oh, what if I did this? Or it'd be nice if I can, this. But I always kind of go back to, I have a great life. And I think the biggest part of it is the freedom, right? I get paid well and all that. And I love what I do. I love the freedom of it. I love that, I don't have to put in for time off in my 9 to 5. If I want to go on a vacation with my kids and wife, or I want to go hunt it, want to do whatever, I can do that. And I think that's I love the lifestyle that this career has afforded me. And I think, as do a lot of people in my position, a lot of MMA fighters, it sucks when they, I've been there. I work a 9 to 5 job, and that's one thing I do love about it. I love to train. When I don't train, I get crazy in the head. Yeah, there's times when you're like, man, I've been doing this a long time. It's getting old. I was wrestling since I was 7. I've college wrestling, all that kind of stuff. I've been doing this a long time. But I kind of just put it in perspective, and I make myself realize how lucky I am, to lead this life, to be able to do what I love to do, and have the freedom to spend time with friends, family, all that.
I'm going to switch it a little bit to a different direction. I mean, we're going to go into the PFL and the Bellator. This will be the first fight for you since the two companies merged. Do you feel any extra pressure? Does it just feel different? I mean, what have you felt so far in terms of dealing with them?
No pressure really. Honestly, I don't feel much pressure nowadays. I felt pressure in my last fight with Fedor, because I was supposed to beat him, and I had guys coming up and be like, "Hey, you better not lose this fight. We don't know what we're doing with this belt because he's retiring." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, guys." I kind of felt pressure with that one, but nowadays, I don't know. I've accomplished a lot that I wanted to accomplish. And at the end of the day, if I lose a fight, it's kind of, yeah, I'm a competitor. I want to win, but it's kind of like whatever at this point. And that being said, I want to go out there and win every single damn fight that I have. I just kind of took that pressure off myself and just go in there and be like, hey, just another fight, whatever, let's do this, right? And that's the way I fight best. I don't get in my own head. I don't get in my own way, and that's worked out the best for me. And with PFL and all that, it was kind of, I kind of heard about potentially February. I'm like, all right, well, you got to let me know. And it started getting into like camp time, and I was training as is, but I was like, I got to get guys in and all that. And they're like, yeah, I think it's happening. Just train, And so we went like 3 weeks into camp training like that. And I got a guy in, flew in Brazil, all that. And then finally, they said, hey, it is going to happen, And we did a lot in camp. We had to fly down. I had to fly to London, meet the Sheikh and all that, and then fly down to Miami for 4 days, press conference. So that stuff was a little different. But everything PFL was doing, it was, over the top production, all that kind of stuff. So, then obviously we have the Saudis involved. We're going out to Riyadh, and that's something new and exciting. So, I mean, we'll see what happens.
When you look at fighting in a place like Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, a place that really, has not had a whole lot of big time fights, and all of a sudden, they're putting a lot of money out. They're putting on these big, things. They had the Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury. That was their big, step out. And now they have this. Do you kind of feel like, what? You're in a position to show people this is the first MMA fight they've had there.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be a fun deal. Like I've got to experience a lot of firsts and a lot of cool things. I was on the card, the first UFC card in Australia. at 10 a.m. in the morning,
Yeah.
and everybody's drunk and having fun. They're there at the first fight, I end up knocking out Keith Jardine. So that was super cool. Got to fight Japan, all that kind of stuff. So I like going to these new places. For me, it's exciting. This fight was exciting because there's something new. I started doing a lot of rematches, and I was like, it kind of gets old a little bit, and I wanted some new blood. And so, PFL champ versus Bellator champ, that was right up my alley. And so going to Saudi, I don't know really what to expect, and that is kind of invigorating and exciting in itself, but at the end of the day, we're showing up, we're in the hotel, we go in the back, we're in our locker room, we pop out in the cage, so it's not really anything new. I fought all over the world, and so we've done it a lot, and we're going to just keep it, routine for us.
I'm going to ask you after the fight, but I want to get your feeling now and see if your answer changes between now and then. You said no pressure, but how was it when you came from UFC to Bellator? And was there any pressure then? And then now in this situation, are you feeling like it's the same type of transition, like the welcomingness into Bellator, and then also to the feeling welcome coming into PFL? Have you felt what are the differences? And what do you expect it to be like when you step inside the PFL Bellator cage, I guess, for this one?
Yeah, my first fight in Bellator, it was a title fight, and so it was, there definitely was some pressure there. My whole career, I just wanted the opportunity to fight for a title. So I'm like, hey, don't let yourself down now. As far as, coming in and kind of similarities there, with PFL, I do want to put on a great show, go out there and get a good victory, because at the end of the day, PFL is acquired Bellator and all that, but I still feel like I'm a Bellator fighter, and Bellator kind of is keeping running kind of as is a little different, but I feel like I'm representing them. There's a little pressure there as far as like, hey, I want all the Bellator guys to go in there and do a clean sweep, but I think at the end of the day, go out there, get a great win, and I feel like a lot of cool opportunities will present themselves, because we can kind of jump back and forth, between PFL and Bellator, instead of just being like, hey, you're a Bellator fighter, you're sticking over here, PFL's over here. We have some cool different storylines that could happen within the two organizations.
Nemkov is now coming to heavyweight. He's fighting Capoloza. That's a great stylistic matchup, but have you seen Capoloza fight, and what are your thoughts on him, and how do you think that Nemkov matches up against him?
Yeah, honestly, I haven't seen a lot of the PFL guys fight, but coming into this organization and all that, I started watching a lot of them, and Capoloza, he's a stud. I pretty much have seen highlights, so it's him just kind of being a wrecking ball, going in there swinging, being fast, and it's you look down this card, it's stacked, great fighters, and that's one of the fights that's definitely interesting. Nemkov's obviously a stud, very dynamic striking, all that kind of stuff. But a guy like Capoloza goes in there and is throwing bombs the whole time. Could be very interesting. Yeah, kind of diving into the heavyweight division a little bit, catching up and watching these PFL guys.
My question is this: during the press conference, they had you guys and doing clips about, how do you think it's going to go, and Bellator versus PFL. Are you really looking at it like it's Bellator versus PFL? Or, hey, we all work for the same company now. First off, and then second, how do you think most of these matchups, in your honest professional opinion, how do you think they're going to go?
Yeah, honestly, they're asking us to do TikToks and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm like, I don't know. Selfishly, you're just like, you're worried about your fight, right? Yeah. But I would actually look down, the row at the press conference. So I'm like, who's losing here as far as all the Bellator guys? I'm like, this is stacked. These guys are studs. I wouldn't be surprised if we do, sweep them all. And that being said, I haven't really watched all the PFL guys. I think Pitbull's opponent's pretty damn tough.
He is.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where I wouldn't be surprised we go in there and sweep them. And it is a little kind of pride there, like, hey, look, we came from the tougher organization.
Do you feel like that with the merging or the buyout or whatever you want to call it, do you feel like you're somebody though that because they run a tournament format on the PFL side? I know that you're older in age and tournament formats are not the business for us old people, but do you feel there might be an itch if you beat Hennen and you make it look easy? Like, hey, why not?
Just tell him no.
Why not?
No.
Dude,
no.
Honestly, though, to go in there, if I got paid, per fight like I do now, go in there and to be able to be like, all right, we're going to knock out these 4 fights in a year. Might be something interesting, for me to do and be like, all right, we'll do that and then kind of see what happens. Maybe be done. I don't know, instead of going like, all right, I might fight once a year, twice a year, for how long? I don't know. So I did think about that. I'm like, could be pretty cool,
Has that been a conversation? Has that been a conversation with your management about potential between you guys? I mean, has it been a conversation with you guys about possibly doing it?
Not really. We're kind of in the dark too of like where do you want us after this? You obviously have like Ngannou floating around, and that's a big fight, go in there and negotiate, above and beyond what the minimum is and see what happens there. But there's a lot of variables there with, is he coming back? Is he going to do a couple more boxing?
But you do
wait for him.
You do remember that deal that he kind of made with the PFL. So his opponent gets a minimum of what?
2 million.
2 million.
Hello.
Yeah.
That's a minimum. That's a good starting point.
I mean, we're the champ. Yeah. There really is nobody else out there
That's
to
true.
fight. If I go out there and win that and be like, well, I'm not going to do it for the minimum.
Oh, hell no.
The minimum is amazing, but I'm going to be like, hey, come on.
I got it. But then look, I don't know what your contract is for coming over from Bellator, but like you said, if I knock out the 4 fights and I go out there and then I win the tournament, I mean, obviously fighting the 1 fight against Ngannou would be probably amazing, just have to train for 1 fight, but you might make significantly more if you did it the other way with fighters that,
if you got 4 or 5 fights there, you'd make significantly more. So, I mean, that could be something I could try to push, and I feel like tournament style like that, is right up my alley.
Just grinding on those heavyweights, man.
I know, right?
Mrs. Bader needs a new pair of shoes, so obviously we're going to the tournament style now.
Get your ass back out
there. Have you, when you think about the Ngannou fight, how do you think you match up well against him? How do you think you match up against him? And in what areas do you see potentially exploiting him? I mean, because look, he has been gone away for just focusing on boxing. Obviously, the wrestling is going to be there.
Yeah,
exactly. But he spent the last 2 years focusing on boxing.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's one of those deals where I wouldn't say I have put people on a pedestal throughout my career when I was younger and all that. I'm like, hey, do I even deserve to be here? Like, how good are these guys? My first one was Keith Jardine because, I was fighting not lower level guys, but kind of no-name guys in UFC. And then I'm like, fighting Keith Jardine, just beat Chuck Liddell. Like, am I on this level? Have I seen this level? And I went out there and first couple punches thrown, I was like, oh, shit, I'm good. That's like when Ngannou has a mystique about him. He obviously has heavy hands knocking people out. It's one of those things where if I don't put him on a pedestal and treat him like every other fight, I think I do very well. Obviously he has that knockout power and he can do that, throughout the whole fight. But going back to your point, he's been, training, I would assume, pretty exclusively in boxing, and he's been doing that for a couple of years, and to pop back out and be like, all right, I'm taking an MMA fight, and I've been grinding on the ground, on the cage, and all that the whole time. I've tried to make it look like, the first Stipe fight, go in there, take his ass down, try to get good position. If it has to be a boring ass fight, and so be it.
Just don't take the shot Stipe took in the first round. Don't take those shots.
Is it a scary fight? Absolutely. But I think there's a lot of upside.
There is. Yeah, look, anybody can be beat in a fight. That's just part of it. And as long as you look at it and say, hey, he could beat me, but I could beat him.
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
not? Why not? Go after that.
Yeah, that Ngannou fight, though, is definitely definitely on the table. There's a couple guys, and I was talking about rematches and stuff, but still have a kind of a bad taste in my mouth with that Linton Vassell fight.
Yeah.
It's one of the ones where, I wanted and kind of got pulled out from underneath me, and I saw him in Miami and stuff like that. That's one could possibly be interesting.
Yeah, because your guys' first fight was at 205, correct? Yeah, and then now both of you guys, and I've said this about both of you guys, is that you guys fight better at heavyweight. So I'd like to see how the fight would come out.
And he's been doing great. Won his last 5 fights, and he's a fight that I like because first fight it was just two squirrels fighting, right? We're just kind of going at it. It's all over the place, and it was a fun fight at the end of the day. So that's an interesting one for sure. But it's obviously got the one in front of me, and then kind of like, hey, PFL, what are you thinking?
Yeah, it was a fun fight for you because you didn't get hit in that fight. He took all the shots. Of course, it was.
Maybe that's why it's so
that was
fun.
kind of a fun fight. I want to go off of the fighting realm. What is the last thing that you have gone hunting for?
I went down to Mexico with the GoHunt.com crew, and we went down there and shot a mule deer and a coos deer.
All right, good for you.
Yeah, the border here was closed in one area where we could go through and
hold on, you're kidding? The border's closed? No, it's not. Just look. No,
wow.
So we had to go. We had a different route, and I texted one of my buddies, and he's like, I got a CIA guy down there. I'm gonna text him, see if your route's okay. He gets a text back. He's like, do not go through Caborca. It's like one of the most dangerous towns. And of course, we went through it. There was a shootout right before we drove through. The military's picking up all the brass.
Very nice.
So it's a little interesting.
I'm gonna ask you something completely off topic. I don't know if you've seen this video. Did you see the video of Sean Strickland beating up the YouTube guy? His name is Sneeko.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, I just want to know your take on these influencers coming into gyms trying to spar, guys trying to box and fight MMA guys, and give me try to wrap my head around what you're thinking when it comes to this.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be careful, obviously, but I mean, throughout my career, we've had a couple guys, kind of come in and do that a little bit. And they're like, who are you? He's like, oh, I'm a bouncer. He's like, I'm beat up all these dudes. And we're like, all right, put your gloves on.
I've never lost a fight.
Yeah, exactly. In the streets,
Guess what?
Red.
All you do is you go, guess what? Today's your lucky day.
Yeah, here we go. I think it's good people getting checked.
Yeah.
I think they need it. Sean's obviously kind of, he's over the top with it and all that kind of stuff. But I like his authenticity, to be honest.
So do I.
Yeah. And to see, some guys like that go in there and get humbled a little bit and get beat up on, nobody's really getting hurt. It is what it is.
I'm going to leave you with this. This will be the last question for me, though, is how do you see this fight going? Give me the full layout. How do you finish it? How do you get it done?
Yeah, I think I go in there, I'm changing levels. I'm feigning. He can't really read me at all. I go in there, hit him with a few good shots, and I take him down. And then, I feel like I can get it done ground and pound, in the first. And if not, I think I get it done in the second. I'm just on point right there. I feel like I'm the best I've ever been on that cage wrestling ground. I'm doing some little different things instead of sitting back the whole time and kind of on their hips. I've been getting up on the head and everything and really zapping these guys' energy. And that's one thing with the Congo fight. I was sitting back too much and kind of letting him, he's long, and kind of letting him get kind of stable a little bit where I could have just came to the head, came right back down, so I think I'm going to get it done on the ground and pound.
Well, I will tell you that your ground and pound, in my opinion, one of the best there is in the sport right now. You have been fantastic. I would love to watch you in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and good luck to you in that fight. It should be a fantastic matchup. You are taking on a monster in Heenan Faher,
Yep.
but that's why you do this. And so just want to tell you, Ryan, good luck in your fight, and thank you for coming on the show. We appreciate your time.
Are you guys going to be out there?
I will be.
I'll be on the broadcast, but I'm doing it from here, baby.
Oh, there you go. That's nice.
I don't have to fly. It's
Son of a
awesome.
Oh, you're going out, Josh?
Yeah. I get in on Monday.
Sweet.
Back of the bus.
Back of the
Bus.
It's definitely
Thomson.
not back of the bus. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'll see you out there, buddy.
All right, we'll see you there, bud.